Hello and welcome to today's episode in which I test out a technique for making tofu terrifically tasty. Say that in a hurry. The thought I've got is to take a block of tofu and try and cut into it so it becomes almost like a long strip, and then stuff that, roll it up, cover it in rice paper and then air fry it. Initially my plan was to do black olive tapenade and sun-dried tomato paste. I don't have any of the sun-dried tomato paste, and I've got a packet of mushrooms that needs to be cooked. So I've decided to pivot and do almost like a mushroom pate, a bit like I did in the turkey roulade, wash the flour, seitan turkey, and maybe some cheese. So nice and simple ingredients. And I think the most complex part of this is going to be trying to cut into the tofu without it just falling apart everywhere. All we can do is try. I've gone for a block of smoked tofu. This is from the Tofu Company if you're in the UK, 225 gram block. This one feels quite dense. That firmness is either going to lend itself really well to this recipe or create massive problems. We'll find out. So I wrapped it in paper towel just to soak up the water. I snipped the packet, squeezed out as much of the liquid as I could, and then just wrapped it in this. I'm going to start by making the mushroom filling. So I've got 300 grams of mushrooms, they're grated. And then that was 1 white onion, again grated. You want something relatively small because we're going to make almost a pate, so you don't want anything too chunky. I'll go in with the onions. Just fry these off for a couple of minutes. There's about a tablespoon of olive oil in the pan. I'm going to do a small pinch of salt. I don't want too much though because I'm going to put chicken stock in the roulade. Stock powder for a bit of flavour, and that's got salt in it as well, so I don't want to over salt things. And I'll just let that cook until it's kind of golden. Now we've got a good bit of colour on things. I'm going to add it in a tablespoon of chopped rosemary, that's fresh rosemary. I'll do 3 cloves of garlic in the garlic press. Just let the garlic cook for a minute or so. You don't want it too long so it can go a bit bitter if it burns. Just until you start smelling it quite powerfully. Then I'm going to add in the grated mushrooms. I don't think I'm going to need this quantity, but then I can just keep the rest in the fridge and have it on toast. I've got this on a medium heat, medium high. It's on 6, mine goes up to 9. And as mushrooms cook, they start releasing a load of liquid. So I want to cook all of that out, and then the mushrooms themselves will start breaking down. So you can see it's starting to release lots of liquid now. If you want to speed up the process, you can pour that liquid off, but I keep it in there and just cook it off because it's flavour ultimately. I'm going to add in a little white pepper. Start with a 1/4 teaspoon. So you see it gets quite mushy and broken down, which is going to be perfect for packing into the tofu. Just going to check the flavour on these, see if I want anything else in there. I think the flavours are good at this stage because I'm going to put cheese in, which is going to be salty. Put the stock in, which is going to have some umami saltiness. Otherwise it's going to be over seasoned. So here we are. So you can see it's much drier than it was. I'm going to go ahead and switch the heat off. I'm going to leave the pan sitting on that hob. It's got a little bit of heat underneath it still. Just have to remember to keep coming and stirring it every now and then. We've got a wee shadow. I'm going to say hi, wee man. Come then, say hi. Hey, Abo. Hey, you're super cute. No, big yawn. How am I supposed to focus on work when you're being all sweet? Huh? It's now on to the tofu stage, the stage I'm kind of dreading a little bit. And I'm thinking, even if it does kind of crack and fall apart a bit, because I'm putting that rice paper skin on the outside, that'll hold everything together, hopefully. When I pitched the rosemary, I kept the little stalks because they're quite firm. So I can always stab that through the roll just to hold it in place if I need to. Got a couple of different knives, not 100% sure which one I'm going to use yet. We'll see. What I'm thinking is doing like a spiral, so coming in like a snail shell, that kind of thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is make a cut straight down like that, but I've left a bit here. Then I'm going to go in this way. This knife has got that bulge there, which is going to mean I can't get the tip into where I want it. So I'm going to switch to this one. Go straight down. Don't drag your knife because tofu is quite fragile, and you definitely don't want to be doing this with frozen tofu that you've defrosted because that makes it even more brittle. So I'm going to go back along my cut in the opposite direction to make sure I've got all the way down to the bottom. Ah. Okay. Not to worry, we're just gonna have to patch things up a little bit. So I'm gonna use some of this Masol plant-based chicken flavour stock powder. I'm putting this in mostly just for extra flavour. So I'm just gonna do a very light dusting. And I'll put a little bit of cheese on. It's probably a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons. Start putting the mushroom mixture on. Be mindful not to put loads and loads of stuffing in there, otherwise it's going to make it very difficult to roll up. Now comes the part where I try and reassemble it. So I'm using a palette knife with a cranked handle, which means there's a bit of a space between the handle and the top. Oh, all right. So I'm going to try staking it with the rosemary. I'll try it with one. Okay, that's kind of working. I'll just hold that there while I soak the rice paper. So I've probably used half the mixture, the mushroom mixture, something like that. These are the rice paper wrappers that I'm going to put on the outside. Get them from a Chinese supermarket. So they're kind of thin, almost like plastic, made out of rice. So I'm going to soak that in water to rehydrate it and get it floppy. And I've used these to do, I did the turkey roulades with the skin on the outside. I've done a couple of other things, but it works, makes a nice kind of skin on the outside. That's a nice bit of texture. I'm going to mix up a small quantity of this chicken flavour gravy. I'm going to brush the gravy onto the top of it once I put the skin on. Again, just to give a nice bit of kind of glaze almost. These are gluten-free gravy granules, so it's a bit lighter than the wheat-based one. If you're not in the UK and you can't get hold of gravy granules, I'll pop some links to things that I've done in the past. I did a glaze on the deli meats, I think on the roulades as well. So I'll put a little list of all the links where you can see how to make different glazes for the outside of things. So the gravy granules are kind of little pellets. So there's flavour and then there's starches in it. I think this one's potato starch and maltodextrin. I'm going to do a spoonful. It's probably, I don't know, half tablespoon, something like that. Maybe I'll do 2. I'm going to add in a small amount of boiling water, because then it's best to do it a little bit at a time, otherwise it can become too liquid. You can see it becomes very thick and gloopy. Add a touch more water. That's the consistency I've gone for. A little bit gloopy, but it runs. And it's probably going to thicken as it sits. I'm going to add boiling water into this little dish here. That'll be for the rice paper. I'm going to pop my tofu in the air fryer, and I'm going to do it on the piece of baking paper, but rice paper will stick to baking paper, so I'm just going to put a little bit of oil on here. So just a couple of squirts of sunflower oil. So I'm going to put it in the water and kind of twiddle it around just to get everything coated. These are, I want to say, 22 centimetre wrappers. So if you use boiling water, it softens in a few seconds, not long at all. I'm just going to splash water on the counter, pour my wrapper onto it and smooth it out. Staking it like that seems to have worked really well, which is great. So now I'm going to gently pull that out. Yeah, I think I'll make this the top, because that's got a nice flat base that's going to be nice and stable in the air fryer. I'm going to put it on kind of a third of the wrapper, and then I'm going to take one end up and over, and the other end, snare that up. So these do tear, just be kind of gentle with it. And then for your ends, pull them up and over onto the bottom. So then it's completely encased. I'm just seeing I've punctured a hole in it. I might put another one on it just for safety. And then just try and be very careful over that spot, because it's quite a sharp edge. And you can easily just pull bits off if you want to get rid of the excess. Brushing the gravy on the underneath first, quite liberal with it, and then just brush it all over. And I might even pull it out halfway through and put a bit more on. I don't know, we'll see. Well, fill it up with gravy. So I've put that in the air fryer and I've stuck it on a little rack, because I'm just thinking it might be quite difficult to get it out of the air fryer without burning my wrists and it rolling everywhere. So that's like a little instant pot rack. Got it on for 15 minutes at 160, which is about 325 Fahrenheit, 320, 325, depending where you look. Have a look halfway through. I might put more gravy on the outside. I'll see, because nothing needs cooking as such, because you can eat tofu straight out the fridge, not a problem. So really it's just to kind of heat things up, get the skin crispy and tight. and it'll kind of, I'm hoping it'll sort of bind things together. The cheese will melt, so it'll kind of compress everything, I'm hoping. And then we'll carve it up and do some nomming. The air fryer's finished, let's pull it out and have a look. Yeah, very glad I put it on this little rack because it would be a nightmare otherwise. You could alternatively do a long piece of baking parchment and then just pick it up like that, but this is a bit more stable. So after the first 7 minutes, I pulled it out, put more gravy on, and then I turned the temperature down to 145 because I was seeing little bits here and there that were getting quite dark, because this ended up being really close up to the heating element in the air fryer. I'm going to use a serrated blade. I just think that's going to make it a bit easier to get through it cleanly. Oh, yum. I think with more practice and better knife skills, I could probably get the tofu down even thinner, which means I'd get more filling in there. But as a first attempt, I'm quite pleased with that. Scoop some up and have a try. Yeah, that's worked really well. The smoked tofu, if you can get it, it's worth doing it with because it just adds a real nice flavour to it. And the cheese has got a nice bit of salty creaminess. The mushrooms have got a nice, almost meaty kind of vibe to them. The trickiest part of it was doing the tofu, like slicing that down, but even that only took a couple of minutes, well, say 5 minutes. So there's no reason I don't think that couldn't be a nice midweek meal to throw together. I imagine you could make that in advance. So do it the night before and then just put it in when you get home from work, that kind of thing. Given that we're now galloping towards the holiday season, something like that's going to work well for Christmas, Thanksgiving, those kind of things, because it's quite a nice little impressive thing to put down in front of someone. I mean, depending on how much your guest eats or you eat, I mean, I could probably muller that in one sitting. But that's just me. In terms of variations, you could do the black olive tapenade and sun-dried tomato like I suggested, or find some vegan pesto or make your own vegan pesto. Put that on, that kind of thing. All of that would work really nicely. As it is, that would be really nice with toasted walnut pieces scattered in there as well. That flavour will just set it off really nicely. Or even toasted pine nuts, hazelnuts maybe. Just things like that will just keep knocking it up another level. I'll put a link to this harissa paste that I made down in the description for you. It's a paste made out of dried chilies, spices, preserved lemons, that kind of thing. So it's nice as a condiment, or you can cook with it as well. I reckon that would be delightful in there. You could scoop on some of the harissa. You could do maybe like a vegan feta cheese. That would work really tasty with that. I really like this cooking chorizo from the Squeaky Bean Company. Really, really nice. Great texture to it. Cut down cubes of that, or even thin slabs, almost little planks of it, and tuck that in. That would taste incredible. When I sit down and do the edit, I'll throw together a load of different variations, like different flavour things that you can try out. I'll put those in the pinned comment probably. There's a fair bit of moistness in there, which isn't to say it's a bad thing, but I think when I reheat it to have it for dinner, I might do 145 for 15 minutes maybe, just to try and dry it out, just to see what that does to the texture. Because the drier it is, the meatier the texture tends to be. And then I'll update the pinned comment. So maybe from the start, when you first put it in, maybe go even 140 and do it for half an hour, something like that. Just depending on what kind of texture. If you don't mind the softer texture of tofu, then that's fine for you. That's very tasty. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can easily just do slabs of tofu and pile the mushroom and cheese mixture on top and air fry it that way. But that's just a little bit of extra something, isn't it, that kind of elevates tofu up a bit. I want to say a huge big thank you to all of my supporters on Patreon, old and new. Your support is amazing to have, genuinely amazing. It's nice to know, that people kind of support my endeavours, what I'm trying to do. If you want in on some of that action and also the behind the scenes from the cooking stuff, but also craft projects, acting things that I've got going on, I'll leave a link down below so you can join up. If you found some value in this video, either for knowledge or just entertainment, then it'd be lovely if you left a little like down below, just to please the algorithm and show me a bit of extra love as well. And then hit subscribe and turn on notifications if you want to be alerted as soon as the new plant-based recipe will be delivered fresh into your inbox every week. And while you're waiting for the next one, have a look at this.